He was supposed to be a god of steel, yet the armored black Superman dismantled him with surgical ease. Every move, every strike, every breath had already been dissected by Chiang's merciless tech squad. Tens of thousands of simulations, thousands of countermeasures, all forged to break the Man of Steel. And they worked. Each attack locked, each defense crushed. Superman's body, a canvas of ruin, was beaten raw under the relentless barrage. Then came the fall. From the heavens he plummeted, a meteor of broken bone and torn muscle, crashing into the Antarctic wasteland. Every twitch of his body screamed agony, and yet he whistled. The shrill note split the silence. From the snow rose his hound, a beast bred for battle, yet blind to his master's torment. It leapt, played, pawed at him, as though this were all a game. Finally, with what strength remained, Superman tore the cape from his shoulders, shoving it into the dog's maw. Only then did the creature understand. It dragged his shattered master across the ice, toward a fortress clawing itself out of the white void. Crystal spires erupted, machines stirred, and the broken god was carried to the cold embrace of the healing chamber. Faded echoes of his parents lingered in broken glass, half a message, half a comfort, shattered when the ship fell. The fortress turned toward the sun, its crystal lens igniting him with stolen fire. Bones mended, flesh sealed, but the healing came too late. The engineer had already tracked him to the ice. Back on the battlefield, nothing changed. He was still the punching bag. The black Superman crushed him again. Lex Luthor recalled his creation, leaving Superman broken, forced to watch his enemies vanish through the portal. At the Pentagon, Lex fed fear to politicians. Superman, he claimed, was a menace, meddling in wars, building a secret fortress in Antarctica. But Lex had the solution. His engineered Superman, his loyal engineer. With approval in hand, Lex descended on the ice, and the fortress opened for him, surrendering to the enemy. The fortress sensed the intruders. It knew the one before it was not Superman. Alarms blared. But in the next breath, the black Superman tore the Guardians apart, metal ripped into shrapnel. The engineer's hands became blades, slicing through steel like paper, his nanotech body shifting into shapes of death. When the superdog leapt to defend his master, the engineer unleashed a torrent of black nanite fluid, binding the beast in a living cage. They weren't here to fight. They were here to expose Superman, to brand him a threat. Lex Luthor ordered the engineer to tear into the fortress systems, stealing secrets line by line. But hacking took time, so Lex released his distraction, a gift. At dawn, the gift revealed itself. A tiny creature, harmless, innocent, by morning had grown into a monstrous titan. Superman confronted it, thinking at first it was mere chaos, even play. But the beast crushed him underfoot, and his dog writhed helpless in black chains. Superman burst through the earth, soaring upward, his body a weapon. He struck, smashing the monster from above in a god's freefall blow. The ground split, flames rained, the city burned, yet the beast only staggered, dazed but unbroken. And in that moment, the real war was just beginning. Under the roar of the crowd, the Justice Squad storms in. Superman hurls a water tower, dragging the monster's gaze away. But the Englishman's attacks? Pathetic, barely scratches its hide. Green Lantern tries to help, only to be blasted by a noxious shockwave sent tumbling miles away. The heroes fight shoulder to shoulder, every ounce of power thrown into the fray. Yet at best, they can only hold the line. Superman, ever the Boy Scout, still finds time to help a trembling grandmother cross the rubble-strewn street, even nudging a squirrel's nest to safety. At the breaking point, Mr. Terrific lobs a bomb straight into the beast's maw. Its guts rupture, and the creature collapses in a thunderous heap. Superman catches the carcass, lowering it gently to prevent the city's annihilation. But before cheers erupt, the crowd's eyes shift upward. On the giant screen, Lex Luthor, broadcasting a recovered video of Superman's parents, damning humanity, calling him destined to rule. In a heartbeat, the world turns on its savior. The fall was swift. In the eyes of the people, Superman's image shattered, his glory stripped away. He staggered into the hall, Green Lantern and the others at his heels. They demanded answers. The experts had spoken. The recording was unaltered. Superman had no defense. Cornered, humiliated, he fled. Back at the fortress, ruin awaited. His loyal hound, gone. Rage drove him into Lex Luthor's tower, demanding the dog's return. Lex remained calm, cold, while cameras captured Superman's fury. The image of a savior crumbled further into that of a raging tyrant. Defeated, he went home. Green Lantern still battled monsters in the streets. Superman barely cared. Only his lover and adoptive parents stood by him, believing he would not fall to darkness. The next day, to calm the storm, Superman surrendered himself. But Lex had prepared the trap. The engineer crushed him, dragging him to a military base, then through a portal. A glass prison awaited, the pocket dimension. Lex's voice echoed, a wound between universes, and in its shadows sat a silent beast, the Element Man, able to conjure substances no Earth had ever known. In the pocket dimension, Superman faced the Element Man, his executioner in chains. When Lex departed, Superman whispered hope. "Help me, and I will save your child." But fear devoured the creature. He dared not resist. Elsewhere, Lois uncovered the rot. Lex had sold 80 billion in weapons to Bolaravia, feeding war for profit. Yet no payment came. Then a message arrived. Superman was trapped in the pocket. The traitor was Lex's mistress, leaking his secrets to rekindle an old affair. Lois sought aid from the heroes. They wavered, helping men open war with their own government. Only Mr. Terrific acted. He had hidden a chip in Superman's blood, and the signal led him straight to a military base. In his craft, he descended. Soldiers moved to bar his way. He ignored them, striding for the tent, until rifles finally rose, ready to kill. Mr. Terrific's fears spun to life, weaving a shield around the unarmed Lois. Then he broke free of its cover, weapons snapping from his orbs like blades on a yo-yo of death. The soldiers fell, one by one, shredded in his path. Inside the tent, he froze. A portal hung before him, unstable, trembling. One wrong calculation and the pocket dimension would rip open, birthing a black hole to consume Earth. And Lex Luthor had built it. Within, Superman was wrecked, tortured past recognition. The Element Man wavered, guilt gnawing. At last he chose to believe the Kryptonian. But how to help? Superman was fading, his body starving for sunlight. He collapsed. Desperation struck. The Element Man forged hydrogen, fusing it in his palms until a blinding star erupted. The false sun drew the guard's eyes, and in that instant Mr. Terrific cracked the code, breaching the pocket. His spheres probed the void. Superman drank the light. Strength flooded back. He rose, annihilated the guards, freed the Element Man's child, and reclaimed his lost hound. But as they prepared to flee, the fortress shook. More soldiers came, guns raised, unleashing fire. Gunfire thundered through the pocket. Superman shielded the child and his hound, while Mr. Terrific's spheres ripped soldiers apart, tearing armor like paper. But Lex's failsafe had already triggered. The portal began to fracture, its edges collapsing inward. Hungry, unstable, ready to swallow both worlds. The Element Man held it back, shaping matter into impossible forms, straining against the tear. "Go," he roared. Superman hesitated, then carried the boy, the dog, and Mr. Terrific through the breach. Behind them, the Element Man was consumed, his body burning as fuel to seal the rift. The portal snapped shut in a burst of white fire. For now, Earth was safe, but Lex had proven he could open the wound again, and next time, it might never close. After a night of recovery, Superman finally regains his strength. But even as Bolavia readies another invasion of Cahampel, its defenseless people clutch their flags, children calling desperately for a miracle. Superman prepares to answer, until Mr. Terrific delivers grim news. Lex Luthor, in his trap, has reactivated a long-abandoned portal. By inputting false codes, he's torn open a spatial rift aimed at swallowing Metropolis whole. The rupture spreads across the ocean, and even Mr. Terrific is powerless to stop it. The skyline split in two. Towers crumbled, collapsing like dominoes. Even Lex Luthor's own headquarters was torn apart. But the mastermind had planned ahead. His office detached, rising as a sleek warship while the city fell into panic. Skyscrapers toppled toward a bridge, crushing traffic below. In the final instant, Superman caught the weight, holding the ruin above a terrified driver, and bought her one fleeting chance to live. Out of nowhere, two shadows struck. Mr. Terrific collapsed under the engineer's blow. Superman answered with fury, a single strike slamming Black Superman into the dirt. The engineer lunged to assist, but against the Man of Steel he was nothing. But together, Black Superman and the Engineer unleashed a brutal symphony of fists. Superman staggered, his resistance shredded. The Engineer unleashed a torrent of black nanite fluid, wrapping him in suffocating decay. Every second it ate deeper. Soon he would choke and die. Yet suddenly the story twisted. Superman rocketed skyward, his body tearing through the clouds, hoping atmospheric friction would burn the filth away. Lex sneered at the futility. The black water already filled his lungs. Above, the Engineer and Black Superman gave chase, snaring him in the stratosphere, dragging him into a death embrace. Breaking through the edge of the atmosphere, Superman suddenly twisted, dragging his enemies down. The three of them plummeted like meteors. The earth split as they slammed into the ground. From the smoking ruins, Superman clawed his way out, gasping, tearing black nanite fluid from his throat until breath returned. The Engineer lay broken, unconscious. But Black Superman staggered up, mask cracked and falling away. The crowding horror. His face was Superman's own. Lex had scavenged a single strand of Kryptonian hair, cloning his perfect weapon, his war puppet. Superman froze in disbelief. Then the clone lunged first, fists dripping with hate. With Lex's tech team pulling the strings, Superman was cornered, crushed under flawless precision. Baravia, drunk on Lex's backing, dared to seize the world, dreaming of its twisted utopia. But Xiaomei blew the whistle. Justice was coming. Green Lantern swept civilians from the slaughter, while the Engineer erased the fleeing president in cold efficiency. Superman's counters? Already predicted, already doomed. Black Superman's scarlet beams thundered, pounding him into the dirt. Lex grinned. Victory was certain. But hubris betrays. Those orbiting spheres weren't weapons. They were toys. One whistle, one dog. Krypto ripped them apart. The clones staggered, broken. Lex unleashed his Raptor squad. Superman erased them in sparks and ruin. But the Black Double wasn't done. He lunged, locking Superman tight, dragging him toward the devouring black hole. At the last breath, Superman twisted fate, letting the falling wreckage drag the clone into eternal dark. The space rift kept devouring the city, a black wound tearing reality apart. Lex Luthor, never one for half measures, chose annihilation. Burn it all down, then rebuild on the ashes. But as he prepared to escape, Superman dropped before him like judgment itself. Mr. Terrific crashed into the control deck, forcing the shutdown. With a scream, the rift collapsed, the world ripped back from the edge of the abyss. Across every broadcast, Luthor's true face was exposed, and Superman's long-suffered disgrace was finally wiped clean. With the Justice League's strike, Jahanpur repelled the invaders, and Luthor was shackled, dragged away like the fallen king he pretended to be. In the aftermath, Superman returned to his fortress, woman in his arms, a fleeting echo of peace. But shadows never stay gone. Supergirl appeared, demanding her dog. The beast lunged to her, wild and unbroken. Even Superman couldn't restrain it. Some forces, like chaos itself, bow to no one. The new Superman spared no expense on effects, pure spectacle. Rotten Tomatoes lit up with 92% acclaim, while the box office shattered records with $300 million. Justice crushed evil, restoring Superman's timeless image of kindness and resolve. A popcorn juggernaut built on sight and sound. That's all for this chapter. Thanks for watching.